Okay, I'm going to show everybody how I make beats using FL8 and an MPD32. Now, to start this tutorial off right, when I make beats and I save them, I don't save them according to a name that I come up with. I save them by that particular order and label them as a number in the order that I made the beats. Now, I know you're asking yourself, why would you do this? I do this because I feel you're taking away from an artist's level of creativity to sit around, name a beat. And I think it's better for an artist to be able to sit down with a beat with no name and come up with their own ideas and just run with the concept and the feeling that they get from that particular beat. Now I want to open up my beat number 41. In this particular beat, I used the sample by Earth, Wind, and Fire. I'm just going to use this beat rather than make a beat from scratch because I feel the tutorial will go a lot quicker. Now make sure, also that you have your folders organized well. It used to be a pain in the butt for me when I sat around trying to scramble and find, my different folders and the sounds that I wanted to use towards making the beat. I have a bunch of loops which I'll play and samples. Just a bunch of sounds to work with and chop up. Now, this is a particular sample that I used to make beat 41.
Wake up, walk in the light. Won't you wake up, wake up, wake up, walk in the light. Won't you wake up, wake up.
Okay, now what I did with that was, since I'm working with a MPD32, I clicked and dragged my file over to the step sequencer. After that, looped up the sample. I use Adobe Audition to loop up my samples. You can do it in Fruity Loops, but I prefer to use Adobe Audition because it's a lot quicker. And I made a 16 bar format for that particular loop that I had. After that, I made sure to open up a Fruity Slicer within the step sequencer, and I'll show you why I do that. Okay, now to open up Fruity Slicer, drag your mouse over one of the files and right click. You'll see a bunch of options listed there. Go to replace. Once you go to replace, scroll down towards the bottom, you'll see Fruity Slicer. Fruity Slicer is very good for chopping up samples and switching up the sample a lot. Now, what you do next is click your loop that you made with the sample, left click it right here where it shows the sample at the bottom, and drag it over.
Walk in the light.
You're going to want to drag it over the Fruity Slicer. Now, I like to chop up my beats either by beats or by half a beat. For this one, this was 32 beats and the BPM was 85 beats per minute. So I chopped it up according to beats. Once I did that, I loaded up that particular sample into FPC. Now, in order to get your MPD working in unison with the FPC, and that I mean by where you hit the pads and you look at the bottom and you see, each pad, you're going to have to sit around and change the MIDI note numbers. Now, I don't feel like going through that, but that's all you had to do to get in unison with your MPD. Now, I loaded up a few of the chops from the Fruity Slicer and put it into the FPC. Now I want to play it through my MPD. Now I messed around with the sample and the pitch and chopped from various points in that particular sample. The next step that I did was I created some drum loops to follow for this particular beat. And basically loop my little drum sample up.
Wake up.
You know, and then some people might be wondering, how did I get the various patterns for each beat rather than Fruity Loops to load up all the samples at once? And that's very simple. All you have to do is go over to the side where it says current project automations. Go up top where it says view, scroll down to playlist. In your playlist, mine's is already put in, but you'll see pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3. What you have to do is you have to right click pattern 1, go to clone selected. That'll bring it down. According to how many patterns you're working with is how many times you want to clone it. When you go over to automation, you'll see all the files listed. Let's say my first pattern, I want to be my regular drum loop throughout the beat. Everything else that's listed, I'm going to delete under automation in the drum regular pattern folder, except for the drum regular pattern. And you do that so on for all your beats. If you want to name each pattern, right click, go to rename and type in the name that you want. I like to work with playlists because it helps my beats, get created a lot faster. The last step that I do is I make sure to load up my samples into the mixer. This way I can, equalize it, bring out the sounds more. And a bunch of things I like to use is compressors, enhancers. Sometimes I use chorus effects. Basically, I just use a lot of effects that's listed in the plug-in presets. And then once you do that, you should be able to have your beat made. I'm going to play my beat, and this is what it says.
Wake up, walk in the light. Won't you wake up, wake up.